Good evening, guys, and thank you for tuning into YouTube to listen to what I've got to say, as I think that the information that I'm about to hypothesize on is very, very relevant to Black UK and Black men in general in 2014. Just for the people that don't know anything about me, I'd just like to give a little intro as to some of the stuff that I've done over the last 18 months to 2 years. I've been employed as a peer educator at an excluded from school unit for socially excluded children who have been excluded from school or expelled from school, and just genuinely children who are hard to reach from the ages of like 12 to 16 years old. I'm also a businessman, and I'm a Black social analyst as well. Now, what that means is that I sort of hypothesize on Black issues today in 2014 in Black Britain. And not only do I hypothesize on those issues, I also seek to find solutions to those issues as well. There's a lot of people on the internet, you know, Keek, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, that, you know, they'll be typing all types of stuff to do with, you know, Black issues and this and that and racism. But, you know, you never see them at no Black events, you never see them at no conferences, you know, you never see them get invited to anything. You know, they're just behind the keyboards, behind the scenes, typing all kinds of stuff. But I'm a different kettle of fish. You know, anybody that knows me personally will know that I'm one of the more serious, you know, Black spokesmen for Black Birmingham, Black Britain at this moment in time. You know, no one can't really deconstruct that. You know, anything that I talk about on the internet, anything that I talk about in real life, you know, it sort of speaks for itself. The people that want to work with me speaks for itself. The people who I've worked with speaks for itself. I've given lectures at universities. I've given lectures at the exclusion from school unit that I just said that I work for. And there's numerous other people that, you know, want to work with me because they can see my passion and they can see that, you know, I'm one of the more serious, you know, young Black men out there that's striving for change within the Black community in 2014 Britain. Now, the subject that I'm going to talk about today is sexual attention from females outside my race. That's been forwarded to me for quite some time now. Now, as long as I can remember, you know, since the mid-90s, late 90s, since I left school, the 2000s, up until the present day, I have to be careful about what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it. I only seem to get attention, and in particular sexual attention, from females outside my race. Now, it never seems to come from Black women, you know, albeit the mother of my child is Black. The mother of my child is actually, you know, dark-skinned. She's a dark-skinned Black woman. She's actually very dark-skinned compared to me, as I've got, you know, tanned features. But that's not the issue, and that was not an attack on Black women either. That's just something that, you know, I'm pointing out for you guys that are watching this to hear. But some guys are going to think, well, what's he complaining about? He's getting attention from females, from white females, from Asian females. What's he complaining about? You know, what other Black men are doing, you know, with females outside their race is nothing different to what, you know, Black men have been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years. So what's he complaining about? Now, I can hold my hands up and I can say that I'm not complaining about anything. In fact, it's quite flattering to know that there's females outside my race that find me attractive. That's very, very nice. Albeit that my first physical preference is Black women. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean to say that, you know, white women and Asian women aren't attractive. And it doesn't necessarily mean, it's not one of them ones where you should ask me the question, do I think white women are attractive, or do I think Asian women are attractive? That's not even a question. But what I'm about to hypothesize on is some of the underlying issues that have been brought to my attention, that it's important that this gets on camera. Now, as I said, since the mid-90s to the 2000s, up until the present day, 2014, I get a lot of sexual attention from white females and Asian females, but I'm going to talk about white women for the first part of this series, because I think I'm going to break this down into parts, part 1, 2, and 3. Now, with the white women, you know, it can be anything from, you know, just say for example, I'm walking down the street, or I'm walking down the high street if I'm not driving, if I'm in a car. You know, white females will, you know, beat their horn or say that I'm handsome and, you know, just say generally sexually desirable things to me, and this happens on a regular basis. Now, anybody that you know that knows me personally or has been with me on the streets or, you know, has been with me in clubs and things like that, if I decide to go out, they will tell you that, you know, I'm not making none of this up. You know, this is actual fact. And as I said, it's quite flattering. But the flip side to that is that white women, they, well, I'm not going to say they, because if I'm saying they, then that is implying that I mean all white women. Now, I can't say all white women because I don't know all white women, so it would be stupid for me to say all white women. But I will say for the most part, the sizable overriding majority of white women, whether you're light-skinned or you're dark-skinned, look at all black men as the same. So the flip side to what I'm talking about is if I'm walking down the high street on another day, if I'm walking down the street on another day, if I'm not driving, you know, it'll be a situation where these same white females will activate the central locking on their cars, you know, or they'll be walking past you and they'll start clutching their belongings, clutching their bags like I'm about to attack them and steal something from them. You know, or they'll see me from, you know, 50, 60 yards away if I'm walking down the high street, and they'll cross the road, you know. And it's sort of mind-boggling because, as I said, and it's a big if I decide to go to any public place or any bar or anywhere like that, these same white females will approach me sober and suggest things to the effect of, I want to have sex with you right here, right now, on the dance floor. Or do you want to come to the toilet and give it to me from behind? These are some of the things that I've been hearing recently, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm scratching my head and I'm pulling my hair out because, as I said, at 12 o'clock, at 12 p.m. on the high street, you know, you're locking your car door, you're activating the central locking on your car, you're walking past clutching your handbag, but at 12 a.m. on the dance floor, you want to have sexual intercourse with me? Now, it makes zero sense. It really, really does make zero sense. Now, that's just several of the issues that I've noticed with this interracial sexual attention that I've been receiving from these females. And another point that I'd like to bring up is that over the years, you know, in the 1990s and the 2000s and up until the present day, when white females, now this is not all white females, these are the ones that are socially visible to me, the ones that I see on a daily basis and the ones that feel it appropriate to come and approach me and come and talk to me. Now, the first thing that these females will say to me, you know, is, are you mixed race? They won't even ask me my name. They won't even ask me my birth name. They will ask me the race of me. Am I mixed race? I.e., am I black and white? Do I have a black parent? And is my other parent a white parent? You know, am I dual heritage? Now, obviously, I know that I don't look like, you know, the typical stereotypical black man, dark skin, you know, fuzzy hair. You know, I know that, you know, to some people, they're probably not sure of my racial background, my ethnicity. But what I'm going to say is, I think that the reason why these white females do that is because, you know, it's better for them to be seen with a mixed race black man than a full black man, because, you know, you're half white, and obviously these white females, they value Eurocentric beauty over any kind of beauty. What I mean by that is, if you're dark skinned, you can't be beautiful, but if you're mixed race, you're beautiful. And, you know, media conglomerates don't help when they, you know, they sort of regurgitate images of mixed race men on soap operas and, you know, anything that you see on the TV or social media to do with people of colour. It's never full dark-skinned black men. It's always men that look like myself and lighter. Now, I can understand why these white women would say, well, are you mixed race? Because I'm tanned, you know, I'm not dark skinned, I'm tanned, I've got black hair and I've got brown eyes. Well, you can't actually see my eyes at the moment because obviously I'm wearing sunglasses because the light's just there and it's bright, so I'm wearing sunglasses for this. But in another, in part two to this, I might do it outside when the sun's shining, and anybody that doesn't know me, they can see, you know, what my eye colour actually is. And as I say, anybody that knows me in real life will know that my eyes are brown. But yeah, that's the first thing, that these females come to me and say, are you mixed race now? Years ago, when I was asked that question by females, the first thing that I would say to them is, I'd say, nah, I'm full black. And the minute I said that I was full black, that was the end of all the interaction between me and these white females. They were never to be seen again. Because obviously, the vilification that black men have been receiving globally through the media, through social media, through radio media, through newspaper media, it's just nothing but a, you know, a regurgitative vilification of black men. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Now, as I said, these white females, they value Eurocentric beauty, and most females, and this is not just white females, most females, you know, they want to know that, you know, they can walk, they can introduce their spouse to their father, to their mother, and in particular to their friends and peers, and for their peers to validate their spouse, to say, yeah, your man's hot, or your man's handsome, and your man's sexy. So black men, unfortunately for black men, that we don't necessarily fit that criteria, and they know that as well. So every time I've told these white females, yes, I'm full black, you know, nothing seems to happen. You know, not that I want it to happen, but I'm just saying what I see. You understand what I'm trying to say? Every time that I tell them that I'm black, it's like, okay, then see you later. But I said to myself, I started to realize that the reason why they're asking me, am I mixed race or not, is so that they can go back to their friends and say, yeah, he's mixed race, he's not full black, go for it. You know, no one's going to disrespect you, we're not going to ostracize you, we're not going to say, what are you doing? We're not going to say, oh, are you a nigger lover? Because he's not full black, he's mixed race, he's hot. Look at all the hot mixed race stars out there, males out there, that I've heard females, all races of females I've heard say are hot. Lewis Hamilton, you know, Marvin from JLS, you know, Theo Walcott, you know, etc, etc, etc. All these type of men, you know, these mixed race men, these are what these white females, I believe, a sort of, how can I put it, that to me in 2014 is their ultimate goal, to be with somebody that looks like Lewis Hamilton or Marvin from JLS or somebody like that. That's what I believe anyway. I may be wrong, but just from the responses that I get from these females when I tell them that I'm full black, that I can only lead to that conclusion. And it's very, very sad, because it just shows that there's a lot of females out there that have a superficial mind and they have superficial tendencies, you know, that go for facial features, Eurocentric beauty. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, for black men in Europe, in the United Kingdom, and in other parts of the world, black men do not necessarily, dark-skinned black men, do not necessarily fit that Eurocentric criteria. So again, every time I've told these females that I'm full black, they run a mile, they run in the opposite direction faster than Usain Bolt. You know, it's laughable. And I just think that what I'm talking about today, you know, I have to step out of my comfort zone. I have to speak about this because I've got so much information in my head that I would hate, you know, God forbid, anything to happen to me, and I go to my grave and there was so much in my head that I had to give, that I had to say, and I didn't get the chance to say it, which is why I'm here today recording this video, because I think that these are important issues that I'm talking about, you know. And I'm just referring to my notes here because this is a very controversial subject, and it's not something that I can just hypothesize off the top of my head. I have to refer to my notes here. And what I will say as well about this is the type of females that seem to be doing it as well. as well as, you know, the pale-looking white females, the Anglo-Saxon pale-looking white females, is also this new trend of females that I'm noticing that are doing it. You know, these white females, you know, that are dyeing their hair black. They're dyeing their hair jet black, and they're using a beige foundation, and they're wearing tight attire, tight clothing, tight skirts, tight jeans, you know, proper exotic clothing. You know, I was looking on social media the other day, and this one white female in particular that I'm thinking about, she posted a picture of a meal, and the meal was just laden with nothing but carbohydrates and fat. That's all it was, and the caption over the meal was, I'm trying to put on as much calories as I like, as I want, because I want that Kim Kardashian figure. And I'm thinking to myself, You're trying to assume the identity of somebody else who hasn't had to eat all those carbohydrates and, you know, all this other, you know, eat all these other lifeless foods just to put on weight, you know, in your buttocks. You know, she didn't actually say I want big buttocks, but it was clearly obvious what she meant when she's talking about Kim Kardashian. You know what I'm saying? And females that are sort of trying to assume Kim Kardashian's identity, you know, these are the females that seem to be approaching me a lot these days as well. You know, the ones with the, as I said, the dyed black hair, you know, the beige foundation skin and the tight attire, you know, approaching me. And it gets to the point where, as I said, it's never black women that are approaching me like this. They're never, you know, they're never trying to integrate with me in that way, and they're certainly not trying to sexually integrate with me in that way either. And that's not an attack on black women. I'm not attacking black women when I say that, you know. And as I'm saying that, I can point to statistics. You understand what I'm trying to say? I'm going to point to some statistics, then I want you guys to look them up. 40% of UK black women are not in relationships. They're single. And these are 40% of black women that are over the age of 30 years old. So these are black women that are not children, they're not teenagers. These are, you know, young to growing adult black women that they're not in relationships. So that says something about black female relationships in general. And that's something that I'm going to talk about in another video. 40% of black women are not in relationships. And it also says, as I'm talking about that, it also says that 49% of black men in Black Britain are in interracial relationships, i.e. they're with white women or with Asian women. 49% of black men are in interracial relationships. So if you add the 40% of black women that are not in relationships, right, and the 49% of black men who are in interracial relationships, that only leaves 11% of the black population that are either, you know, that are either too young to be in a relationship or they're in same race relationships. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? 49% of African Caribbean men are in interracial relationships. Thus being, they will become the first UK ethnic group to disappear. This is what Google says. Go on Google and Google it. Google British African Caribbean population, 5th paragraph down. Black British men have a high rate of interracial relationships, thus being they will be the first UK group to disappear. That's genocide. I'm not saying it's genocide, but it bears all the hallmarks of genocide. Now, obviously, there's only 3.5 million black people in this country. 3.5 to 4 million black people in this country. There's 7.5 million Asian people in this country. There's 44 million white Anglo-Saxon people in this country. 28 million of those 44 million white Anglo-Saxon people in this country are white females. Are white females. Of the 7.5 million Asian people in this country, 4.9% of those are Asian women. Now, of the 3.5 to 4 million black African Caribbean people in this country, 2 million of those females of the black African Caribbean population, sorry, are females. So that leaves the 1.5 million remaining black men visualizing 34 to 35 million other race females in this country. You know, that can only lead to mental subjugation, especially when there's big issues with black and female relationships, black male and black female relationships. You know, that league when there's a black man walking around and all he's seeing is white and Asian females, and there's serious issues with black female relationships, right? And these other races of females are showing black men, light-skinned black men, dark-skinned black men, nothing but love, nothing but sexual attention. It's always going to be bound to happen. It's always going to be bound to happen. You understand? Even I'm a Pan-Africanist. I know Pan-Africanists that are cohabitating out right now, as I'm talking to this camera, that are right now cohabitating with white women. You know, since I've started saying certain things on the internet, you know, black men have been inboxing me on Facebook, they've been inboxing me on Twitter, they've been texting me, they've been phoning me saying, Ithamar, look, I agree with everything that you say, and everything that you say is of a thought-provoking nature, and all these things. One black man even turned around and said to me, now I know why I'm with a white woman. He didn't even know why he was with this white woman. He didn't know. He couldn't, well he knew, but he just couldn't psychoanalyze why he was with this white woman. He had no, one day he said to me, I ended up with a white woman and I didn't know why. And he said, until I started listening to your stuff on Twitter, until I started reading your stuff on Facebook, until I started listening to you, Ithamar, I realized why I was with a white woman. And I said, why is that? I said, why is that? Tell me why. And I said, I want you to be honest with me. Why are you with a white woman? And it's because, Ithamar, I did never ever think that I was going to be with a black woman. I don't think that I fit the criteria of the 2014 black woman. Imagine that. A black man didn't know why he was with a white woman until he started listening to me. He's turned around and he said, I don't feel I fit the criteria of the 2014 black woman. What I'm talking about is 1980s black women upwards. 1980s born black women upwards. That's what he's talking about. He didn't feel he fit the criteria of black women, which is why he ended up with a white woman, because he's saying that the white woman that he met, she showed him nothing but love, she supported him, she stood by him. Yes, maybe she can't cook like the black woman, but you know, she supported him and she stood by him, and now he's with her and he's a Pan-Africanist. He's procreating with her, he's got a mixed race child, he's a Pan-Africanist. Them things are not allowed in Pan-Africanism, but he's still a staunch Pan-Africanist member. He donates money to the movement. You know, he talks to guys like Dr. Umar Abdullah Johnson. He listens to guys like Dr. Amos Wilson. He listens to guys like myself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And I just think that some of the issues that I've hypothesized already in this video really need to start being looked at, because listen man, black UK at the moment, I know I'm swinging away from the subject in hand of sexual attention from females outside my race to something different, but it's part of it, and that's what the black community needs to understand. We need to understand that. But I'm going to talk some more about this probably in part 2 or part 3 of this series of interracial sexual attention from females outside my race. That is sexual attention from Asian women and white women. Now, the last point that I'm going to make in this part of the video is, where does all of this come from? Where does all this come from? Now, I've got my thesis, I've got my hypotheses on the matter, and I'm going to give it to you right now. Where does all this come from? This comes from integration and immigration. Immigration and integration. That's where it comes from. When you believe that you belong to a defeated group of people, you don't want to be associating with that people. You don't want to be associating with that group of people. Now, I'm talking, when I say that, I'm talking about my grandparents and my foreparents and people of that generation. They believe that they belong to a defeated group of people, you know, which is why they decided to immigrate and integrate into Western civilization. Now, my grandparents, my paternal grandparents and my maternal grandparents, they're both from the Caribbean, they're both from Central America. My dad's mum and dad, they're from Jamaica, and my mum's mum and dad, they're from Jamaica. That's classed as Central America, if people didn't know. Jamaica is actually classed as Central America. It's not even classed as the Caribbean no more. So when you believe that you belong to a defeated group of people, you don't want to identify with that group of people because it's considered painful and shameful to do so. So you would do anything to leave that group of people and go and try and assimilate and amalgamate yourself into another people's culture. And at the same time, you will try and assume those people's identity. You know, forgetting where you come from, forgetting your roots, yeah? Trying to amalgamate yourself into this new system. That's where all of this comes from. Now, I've thought about this time and time again. Time and time again. I've thought about outer relationships, outer racial relationships. I've thought about engaging in outer... It's crossed my mind many, many times, but I know in my heart that I can't do it. Now, the reason that I can't do it is not because I'm racist. Obviously, black women are my first preference. The mother of my child's black. And as I said before, that doesn't necessarily mean that white and Asian women aren't attractive. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not flattered as hell when they're putting sexual attention towards me. And it's, as I said, it's not a question of asking me, do I think that white females are attractive? Or do I think Asian females are attractive? That's not a question that you need to be asking me that. But I know that if I was to engage in an interracial relationship, in particular with a white woman, I know that that's not an equal playing field, not in the system of white supremacy. It's not an equal playing field, and it can never be. It can never be and will never be an equal playing field in the system of white supremacy. Now, I know that a lot of the white females that I talk to on Twitter and Facebook are probably not going to want to hear this. You know, a lot of my white female friends from school, they're probably going to be upset when they see this video. But you can't be upset with someone that's hypothesizing black psychology in 2014 Britain. What do you want me to do, man? Not say nothing. Every other race is saying what they want to say when it comes to race, religion and politics. I'm just one man hypothesizing on it. It's not an equal playing field, not in the system of white supremacy. Because that white woman, she has more power over me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? She's got more power over me. If me and her fall out, all she has to do is call the police and say, yo, this man is doing blah, 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 blah. And the operator's going to say, oh, can we have a description of him? Yeah, he's a black man, he's an IC3. The police will be there before she even puts the phone down. The police will be there before she puts the phone down, and she can say whatever she wants to the police about me. She can make up anything, and that is my life over. She could turn around and say that I tried to kill her. I'll get remanded for attempted murder. Damn, she could turn around and say that I raped her. And I'll be in court fighting a rape charge. You know, so it's not equal. It's not equal. If there's no white supremacy, maybe I'd probably give it a bit more thought. But again, as a staunch Pan-Africanist, I still don't think that I'd be able to do it. As flattering as all this sexual attention from females outside my race is, I still don't think I could do it. Because, as I said, it's not an equal playing field. Let me just refer to my notes. I think that some of the stuff that I've spoken about today, this evening on this video, really needs to be looked at, and I would like all of the black men that I know, all of the black women that I know that are in interracial relationships to start talking. I want black men that can identify with some of the stuff that I've been speaking about this evening to start talking. Stop keeping things to yourself, because knowledge comes with responsibility. Once you know, you now have the responsibility to do. I know all of this. I've knew all of this, what I've said today, for the past 5 years. But me keeping it inside my head is rendering the terminology of knowledge useless. It bears no relevance, it being inside my head and staying inside my head. And I'm not just talking about interracial relationships or sexual attention from females outside my race either. I'm talking about a multitude of black issues. A multitude of black issues that we need to, we need to start addressing and finding solutions as a matter of urgency. Urgency, because I tell you this now, people outside our race are looking at us and they're laughing at us. They're laughing at us because we're politically mute, we're economically retarded. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? We're politically mute and we're economically retarded. Those are the two main things that are affecting black people globally today in 2014. That's why no other races got respect. They've got no respect for us. And the day we start building ourselves up economically, we won't need to go to politicians for anything. They will come to us. When the Sikhs are spending 30-40 million on marble, 100% marble and gold gurdwaras on our doorsteps in Handsworth, in Smethwick, in Small Heath, in Alum Rock, do you think that they're going to the council asking them for anything? Or the government asking them for anything? The government are sending council officials and are speaking to them. They're bringing proposals to them. They're offering them land. That's what's going on. I talk to Sikhs. I know Sikhs. This is what's going on. I'm getting a bit emotional now, so I think that I'll end this part one of interracial sexual attention from females outside my race for now, and I'll be back with part 2, part 3 and part 4 at some point in the future. Thanks for listening.